coming home after a long vacation. There's a sense of familiarity, sure, but certain things have changed. The neighbors may have built a new shed. The street's been renovated, and while you're away, maybe your house got a new coat of paint. For the past few days, we've been playing the Age of Empires 4 technical stress test, and my impressions of the first new Age game to release in over 16 years? Welcome home. The developers of Age of Empires 4 are World's Edge and Relic Entertainment. The former is a new studio within Microsoft established in 2018, overseeing the Age of Empires franchise. The latter is often seen as one of the last bastions of large strategy game studios. Relic Entertainment is owned by Sega and is mostly known for their Company of Heroes titles. Creating a new game in a well-established franchise isn't an easy task. Xbox fans know this all too well regarding Halo. With Age of Empires, this is no different, as just like first-person shooters, real-time strategy games have been around for quite some time, and they come with big expectations. It's very clear from the very first minutes when playing Age of Empires 4, the goal was to create a balance. That balance being between old and new, between Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 3. Back in the day of 2005, Ensemble Studios released Age of Empires 3 with a lot of new mechanics. Stacked unit productions, a card system, smaller maps and armies, hero units, and less macro-heavy economies. The reception to all these new mechanics was mixed, to say the least, which created two separate fan bases within the Age of Empires community. Some players like the classic gameplay of Age of Empires 2, which was a clear evolution of the first game, while others are a fan of the new gameplay elements added in the third installment. Relic is trying to strike a balance between these two types of fans. At first glance, the game looks like a 3D version of the second game, with the same resource-gathering element set in the same period of history, the Middle Ages. However, when delving into the game a little deeper, it suddenly becomes apparent there is more to this than just an Age of Empires 2 sequel. The civilizations are diverse, many quality-of-life improvements have been made, and the armies are smaller than in Age of Empires 2. This creates a somewhat hybrid version of these two installments, which will either please all fans or none, depending on the final execution of the product by Relic. This weekend, I've played around 20 games, with all 4 civilizations in various formats. I've played against AI on the intermediate and hard difficulty, and have played plenty of online multiplayer sessions either with friends or on my own. The most important thing, Age of Empires 4 is a good real-time strategy game. It's fun to play and matches are engaging. There are plenty of things I'd love to see changed, but Age 4 is fun to play, and it works well. My relatively old PC was able to run the game fine, and the amount of bugs I've run into during my playtime has been limited. In short, it is a very polished product. Overall, it seems Relic has nailed the classic rock, paper, scissors mechanics which are important in real-time strategy games. It's very clear which units counter which units, a problem often attributed to Age of Empires 3, where this was less clear for non-experienced players. Cavalry deal extra damage to archers, pikemen do well against cavalry, and so on. Probably one of the reasons why World's Edge and Relic Entertainment have opted to go back to this medieval setting, as most players know how the rock-paper-scissor mechanic works in that time period. It's not all puppies and sunshine, though. The UI is a problem. While many participants in the technical stress test weren't a fan of the way the UI looks, my gripes were different. For example, the minimap is a cluttered mess, which means it's hard to read what's happening in the game at times. Another aspect I feel could use a lot of love in the user interface are the icons, especially those for upgrades which are unclear and hard to distinguish. If you're playing chess on multiple boards, which is what playing a real-time strategy game in multiplayer can feel like, there's no time to read all the tooltips for the necessary upgrades. Besides this, there seems to be a delay between ordering a unit to perform an action and the unit actually performing it, and the same applies to the chat room. As both outside and inside the game, there can be a pretty long delay between typing a message and it appearing on screen. The art style has been a hot topic regarding Age 4. I might be in the minority, but I love the way it looks. It's like fighting a medieval battle in a pastel painting, as if I'm reliving history through the eyes of a painter. Obviously, there are many aspects which need work. Some textures aren't amazing, and it feels like every map you play is a little foggy due to the blur. Oh, and one thing that needs to happen, please, Relic. Why aren't the chickens in the town centers animated? I don't think they had stuffed chickens hanging around Town Hall back in the day. Scaling in a real-time strategy game is very difficult. In a third-person game, it makes sense to have buildings with realistic sizes where people can fit through doors. But in a strategy game, this is different, as buildings are enormous, trees are very high, and hills tend to be bigger than 10 meters in height. If everything was realistically scaled, we wouldn't be able to see a thing on screen. So this means developers have to make compromises in this, and I don't really mind that. I understand the need for realism in a historical strategy game, but the most important thing is that it plays well. Speaking of realism though, the sound design and music are incredibly well done so far. The way languages evolve over time into their more modern versions is a lovely touch. Meanwhile, the soundtrack, as is expected in an Age game, adds a lot of atmosphere. Yes, the sound design is the most impressive aspect so far. Overall, I have been impressed by the Age of Empires 4 technical stress test. I'm not sure if it will attract players from the older games, but looking at it without the burden of being a sequel, it seems to be a competent strategy game, and I am looking forward to trying the entire experience, including the historic campaigns. I hope they've changed the sound effects for the town center by then, because the ding 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 sound is driving me insane. Age of Empires 4 is launching this October 28th on Steam, the Microsoft Store, and Xbox Game Pass for PC. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you could please like, comment, and subscribe, it is a massive help to the channel, and if you do click subscribe, you can tick that little bell to know whenever we post. And we will see you here next time for XboxEra.